uncomfortable neck. Is anyone who's here for the first time today to our ISKCON Newcastle temple? You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. And those of you who are here for the first time to ISKCON Newcastle, is it your first time to an ISKCON temple, or have you been to an ISKCON temple before? First time for yourselves? Wonderful. And yourself? Yeah, I thought so. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming. So before we speak a little bit about today's festival, we are going to sing a little bhajan, a devotional song, Jaya Radha Madhava. We have the words. Do we have the words there? Yeah, we have the words up there. Sorry, I told you to face this way. Now you might need to see the words. Anyway, we're going to sing for a few minutes before we're going to speak a little bit about this festival. We've got a Madanga player. Do we have anyone on the cartels? A proficient player? Is that someone making some noise at the back there? Yeah. That's Unimai. Okay, that's good. She's more than proficient. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Sava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Govardhana Vallabha Yashodanandana Rajajana Randana Yashodanandana Rajajana Randana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari
Caitanya Vallabha Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Giri Govardhana Ki Shri Govardhana Puja Mahamahotsav Ki Nitai Gaur Pramanande.
Hari Bol.
Are we okay at the back there? It's a bit of a vibration. So thank you everyone for coming today to our auspicious Govardhana Puja festival. Those of you who are astute will know that the actual day was on Wednesday. Did anyone have any kind of observance on Wednesday? Did anyone observe the festival on Wednesday? Wonderful. So today we're getting 2 for the price of 1. We like to celebrate on the weekend because generally more people can come. But yes, today we are celebrating the wonderful festival of Govardhana Puja. And today our talk is entitled Govardhana, the hill that fulfills all desires. Okay, I'm going to ask for a show of hands to begin with. Who here has ever been to Govardhana Hill? Put your hands up. Okay. So for those of you who haven't put your hands up, that needs to be on your bucket list for this lifetime, to go to Govardhana Hill. Especially if you can go during this time of the year, during Kartik. It's very auspicious. Many devotees from all around the world, they go to visit Vrindavan during Kartik. Get a lot of Delhi Walas, they go from Delhi for the weekend. They go to circumambulate Govardhana Hill. You can do it, it's about something in a region of about 12 miles, I think, altogether. If you start early in the morning and you can walk all the way around, you can either do it and you can visit each of the different sacred places along the route, or you can just, some devotees, they just do it every day and they just walk it like a japa walk. It's wonderful. There are even some great sadhus, and they do what's called Dandavat parigram. And they do a Dandavat, means lying down in a stick, prostrate in the dust of Govardhana, and they do that all the way around. And then there are some sadhus, and they do 108 parikrams in one place, and then they move on to the next one. It takes them many months like that. But today, we will be celebrating it here in Newcastle. I mean, if you're feeling inspired, you can do a Dandavat parikram around the block. Because we have Govardhana Hill here. The devotees are working hard, making our own representation of Govardhana. We will be circumambulating that hill later on. And that is non-different from circumambulation of Govardhana Hill. So, now why are we worshipping a hill? Why are we worshipping a hill? Is that not like idol worship? I thought we come to the temple to worship Bhagavan, we come to worship God. In the Hare Krishna temple, they're worshipping hills. It's not a bit unusual, is it not? I mean, we are here on the top of a hill. This is the Westgate Hill. Now, for people who ride motorcycles, this hill is a sacred place, actually. It's a holy place. Not so much nowadays, but when I first came to Newcastle about 12 years ago, and for many, many years before that, this whole hill was full of motorbike shops. You could either buy motorbikes, or you could buy parts for your motorbikes, and just all the bikers would hang out here. So if you speak to any motorbiker in the northeast, they know Westgate Road. For them, that is their holy place. But we're not worshipping Westgate Hill. It's not that any old hill is worshipable. But it's just like, for instance, we have deities, murtis. The Archa Vigraha, the deities of Krishna. So you could say, well, is that not just idol worship also? Is that not just worshipping statues? Like my daughter, she has, Barbies and like little mermaids. It's not just the same thing, worshipping them. Well, Srila Prabhupada would give the example that if you want to post a letter, to be honest, no one really posts a letter these days, right? It's, everyone sends a WhatsApp. If it's someone, some people still do. I still send birthday cards and Christmas cards. But to be honest, it's very expensive. It's about £1.75 for a first-class stamp. Or if you go on a holiday, you send a postcard back, But if you took a postcard and you just stuck it in any hole in the wall, you find an old hole, there's an old wall, there's a hole, I'll just stick my postcard in there. It's got a first-class stamp on it. Is that postcard going to get to the desired destination? No. But if you put it in an authorized post box, then if it's correctly stamped, for the right size or whatever, it's going to get to the right place. So in the same way, it's not that we can just worship any old statue or any old doll. The Archa Vigraha, The murti of Krishna is an authorized, it's been carved in a particular way. Certain mantras have been chanted to invite the Lord to reside within that form. And if we worship the authorized deity of Krishna, then it is non-different from Krishna. Everything is ultimately made up of Krishna's energy also. Everything that's, exists, this is also made of Krishna's energy. But at the same time, the energy of Krishna also in one sense is non-different than Krishna, but at the same time it is, just like the example is given of the sun. We can say the sun is shining in this room. Well, not today. But, the sun was shining a little bit earlier. You can say the sun is in your room. But it's the energy of the sun. It's not the actual sun. If the sun was in your room, you would be burnt to a crisp. So in one sense, the energy is non-different. But in another sense, the energy always has a source. But everything is made of Krishna's energy. But the deity form is an authorized form by which if we worship it, according to the scriptural rules and regulations, then Krishna will accept that worship. One time our Acharya, founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, he said, if you treat the deities as brass-made idols, they will remain brass-made idols to you forever. He said, but if you worship these deities as non-different from Krishna, he said, these very deities will talk with you. And many devotees, they have that experience that Krishna, in the form of the deity, he reciprocates with us if we treat him nicely. There was one story actually in the scriptures of one devotee. He'd been worshipping the deity for many, many years, but he was slightly motivated in his prayers. Sometimes we come before the deities, and we're praying to pass our exams. We're praying for our children to pass their exams, or we're praying to get a new job promotion, or whatever it is. We may have some material motivation. So this devotee, he was a little motivated. And after many years of worshipping the deity, he just felt the deity wasn't listening to him. So he said, okay, you know what? Every day I'm offering you some incense. He said, but you're not reciprocating with me, so you know what? I'm going to make sure you can't smell this incense. And he stuck beeswax up the deity's nose. Okay, you're not going to reciprocate with me. Here you go. I'll make sure you'll never smell this incense again. And then the next day, all his desires, all his wishes were fulfilled. And he was like, what is this? And he went before the deities. He said, I worshipped you for years, but you never fulfilled my desires. And then last night I stuck some beeswax up your nose. And then the Lord spoke to him. And he said, yes, that was the first time you've actually treated me as a person. You actually treated me like a person. So therefore I reciprocated with you. So in the same way, we're not just worshipping any old hill, we're worshipping Govardhana Hill. And so today we will explain a little bit about who or what is Govardhana Hill and why Govardhana Hill is worthy of our worship. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a famous verse in the 4th chapter, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatuskutam dharma samsthapanataya sambhavami, yuge yuge. And Krishna says that I descend, I come to this material world for 3 reasons: to deliver the pious, to annihilate the demons, and to re-establish the principles of religion. And Krishna says, in this way I come millennium after millennium. But it's described that the real reason, or the kind of, if you like, hidden reason that Krishna appears in this world is to attract the conditioned souls, i.e. us, back to the spiritual world. Because we are enamored by the material world, speaking personally. So Krishna comes to perform his wonderful pastimes to attract us all back to him. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, so in In the same way, to attract the conditioned soul, Krishna, he descends. That's the meaning of avatar. Avatar means one who descends. Sometimes we use this word incarnation, like reincarnation, but carne in Latin means flesh. So when we say incarnation, strictly speaking, it's not true, because Krishna doesn't appear in the flesh. Krishna's body isn't material like ourselves. His body is Satchidananda Vigraha, means eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. It's a spiritual body. So avatar means one who descends. So yeah, Krishna descends and he reveals his most attractive, transcendental, loving pastimes. And when Krishna comes, does he come on his own? No, he doesn't. He comes with his confidential, his friends, his servants, his associates, and all of these personalities, they assist him in his pastimes. It's a bit like, on a mundane example, when you go to the theatre, right? You can go to the theatre, and certain shows, they travel all around the country. And you can go and see, like, there's one famous play called Mousetrap. And that one has been touring for, like, decades. I think, is that Agatha Christie, Mousetrap? It's one of the longest running plays. And it just keeps on going and going because it's very popular. So when they put this drama on, then they take all of the different equipment with them. They take all the props, all the dresses, all the costumes, and also the characters in the play, they all go around. So this is a mundane analogy, but in the same way, Krishna, he comes to the material world. And when he comes, he brings with him his props, his costumes, his associates, he brings with him his friends, his companions. It's like a travelling roadshow. So when Krishna comes to this material world, not only does he bring all of his friends and his associates and his servants, but he also brings the spiritual world with him. That is called the Holy Dham. So before Krishna comes, the Holy Dham, that means the spiritual realm, also comes like that. Like in the theatre, you have to have everything set up and then the characters can come on the stage. So you can go to Vrindavan on this planet. You can go to India, you can go to Uttar Pradesh, and you can visit the place known as Vrindavan. And to mundane vision, it just looks like any ordinary place. You know? If we have material vision, one time one of Srila Prabhupada's students, he said to Srila Prabhupada, he said, all I'm seeing here in Vrindavan is I'm seeing, pigs, in the sewage. I'm seeing rickshawwallas who are trying to charge me too much money. I'm going to Loy Bazaar, to the market, and they're trying to rip me off. He said, I'm not seeing a holy place. And Srila Prabhupada said, that is because you have a speck in your eye. So this devotee, he was like, he's trying to, what is it? A speck in my eye? And Prabhupada said, no. He said, Premanjina Charita Bhakti Velochanena. He said that for one whose eyes are tinged with the salve of love, for one who has love of God, then he sees God everywhere. But for one who is yet to develop that love for God, then they will not see God. So if we go with mundane vision, we will just see, Vrindavan just like some bustling town, But for those who have the correct vision, they will see Krishna. They will experience Krishna, Radha and Krishna performing their eternal loving pastimes. So you can go to Vrindavan. So this is the wonderful thing, that when Krishna comes to this material world, he leaves behind the Holy Dham. So again, let's put our hands up. Who here has ever been to Vrindavan Dham? Okay, or maybe who's been to Mayapur Dham? Mayapur Dham. Or maybe Ayodhya Dham? Who's been to Ayodhya? Or who's been to Kurukshetra? Yeah, there are many holy places that we can go and visit. So when the Lord comes, he leaves behind the Holy Dham, so we can go there and we can take shelter. Now, by material calculation, Vrindavan Dham, this means not just the town of Vrindavan. Nowadays it's a town, it was a forest, now it's a town. but the whole of what's known as Braj Mandala, it is 84 miles in diameter. And within those 84 miles, there are 12 sacred forests, like that. And the topmost of all of those forests is known as Vrindavan, or Vrindavan. Right? Van means forest, so the forest of Vrindavan. And then, in the middle of that vast forest of Vrindavan, you have Govardhana Hill, which is what we are speaking about today. But like we said, who or what is Govardhana Hill? So there are two understandings of who or what is Govardhana Hill. Does anyone know what are the two different understandings of Govardhana Hill? Well, that's okay, I'm going to tell you. So, the first understanding of Govardhana Hill is that Govardhana Hill is the greatest devotee of Krishna. In the Shastras, there is said that at different times there are different devotees who are the greatest devotees of Krishna. Shiva also is known as the greatest devotee of Krishna, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Lord Shiva, he is the greatest devotee of Krishna. But in this understanding, this was spoken by the gopis, the cowherd maidens of Vrindavan, Krishna's dearmost devotees, and they said that Govardhana Hill is the most dear devotee of Krishna. And the other understanding, the second understanding, is that Govardhana Hill is non-different than Krishna. Krishna and Govardhana Hill are non-different. So Govardhana Hill is Krishna. So how can we understand that? He's the best devotee, or he is Krishna? Well, it's a bit like Lord Balaram. Who's heard of Lord Balaram? So Balaram, he is the brother of Krishna. Now you might think, well, how does God have a brother? That sounds a bit unusual. Well, that means that everything that's here in the material world has its existence or its origin in the spiritual world. All relationships that we have in the material world, those relationships also exist in the spiritual world. So God has a mother, he has a father, he has a brother, he has a pet. Did you know that? Krishna has a pet cow. It's a little calf called Tungi. Why not? Sometimes devotees, someone might challenge, sometimes devotees challenged Srila Prabhupada, well, why would God come to this material world? And Srila Prabhupada would say, who can stop him? God means omnipotent, means all-powerful. Right? Who can stop him? If God wants to come to this material world, who can stop him? So Krishna, he has a big brother, Lord Balaram. And in one sense, Balaram is non-different from God, because ultimately everything is an expansion from Krishna. So Balaram, he's known as the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. He serves Krishna in many ways. And one of the ways that Balaram serves Krishna is he manifests as the Holy Dham. He manifests as the land of Vrindavan himself. He manifests as Krishna's slippers. He manifests as Krishna's clothes. So in that sense, Balaram is non-different from God, but at the same time, he is also serving God in the same way. So Govardhana is also known like this. So there's a very nice quote. This is a prayer by the gopis, and they glorify Govardhana Hill. I'll just read you the verse here. Okay, this is in Sanskrit. This is from the Caitanya Charitamrita, chapter 18, text 34. Hantayam adri abala haridasa varyo yad rama krishna charanas parasha pramoda manam tanoti sahago ganayostayo yat paniyasu yavasa kandara kandamulai. So this is, as I said, spoken by the gopis. So they said, of all the devotees, this Govardhana Hill is the best. Oh my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram, as well as their calves, cows, and cowherd friends, with all kinds of necessities. Water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respect to the Lord. Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhana Hill appears very jubilant. And there's just a small purport to this by Srila Prabhupada. So he says, this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. It was spoken by the gopis when Lord Krishna and Balaram entered the forest in the autumn. The gopis spoke among themselves and glorified Krishna and Balaram for their pastimes. So Govardhana Hill is known as the best devotee of Krishna because he provides Krishna and Balaram and all of the residents of Vrindavan with all their necessities of life. Govardhana Hill provides cool drinking water, pure honey, mango juice, varieties of herbs, roots, fruits, fresh flowers, minerals, precious gems. Govardhana Hill provides caves that you can take shelter of. If anyone's ever been to Govardhana during the summer, Govardhana has the highest recorded temperature of an inhabited place on the earth. It got to 60 degrees Celsius. That's the highest recorded temperature of an inhabited place, Govardhana. So therefore, in the summer heat, one can take shelter of those caves. Or if it's raining, one can take shelter of the caves. They also perform or become a wonderful place for Krishna and Radha's loving pastimes. Govardhana Hill produces special soft grass because Krishna is a cowherd boy, so it's a place for his cows to pasture. And if the cows have nice succulent grass, then they become healthy, they produce a lot of milk. And in the Vedic tradition, one needs milk for so many things, for ghee production, for cooking, for performing Vedic sacrifices, for butter, for yogurt, cheese, milk preparations. So milk is the economic backbone of the residents of Vrindavan. So therefore Krishna, he advised the residents of Vrindavan not to worship Indra, who is the demigod of he's the king of the demigods. But he's in charge of the rain, like this. We'll explain a little bit about this later. So in this way, Govardhana Hill is known as the best devotee of Krishna, because he is supplying all these things. But in another sense, Govardhana Hill is non-different from Krishna. The evidence is given in the Vedic literatures. Also Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who is in the center of the altar here, who is non-different from Krishna. It is said, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha, Krishna, Nahi Anya. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the combination of Radha and Krishna. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu, here's some verses again from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, so from Radhakund, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sumanas Lake. When he saw Govardhana Hill, from there he was overwhelmed with joy. Text 16. When the Lord saw Govardhana Hill, he immediately offered obeisances, falling down on the ground like a rod. He embraced one piece of rock from Govardhana Hill and became mad. Okay, this is text 23. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought, since I shall not at any time climb Govardhana Hill, how shall I be able to see Gopal Roy? So there's a deity on the hill, or there was a deity at that time on top of the hill. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wouldn't climb on the hill. So devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they never walk on the hill itself, because we see the hill as non-different from Krishna. So to step on Krishna, that is a great offense. So therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us. And then he said, thinking in this way, the Lord remained silent, and Lord Gopal, knowing his contemplation, played a trick. This is text 25. Coming down from Govardhana Hill, Lord Gopal granted an interview to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was unwilling to climb the hill, thinking himself a devotee of Lord Krishna. So this shows evidence that the Lords and Govardhana Hill are non-different. Actually, this deity of Gopal, you can see in the middle of the altar here, there's a black deity of Krishna, known as Gopalji, and he is a replica of this deity who was on top of Govardhan. Yes. And then this is two more texts. So, just by seeing Govardhan Hill, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu became ecstatic with love of Krishna. While dancing and dancing, he recited the following verse. And then Caitanya Mahaprabhu recited this verse that we just quoted, that the gopis said. We can do it again. Let's try it again one more time. It's a very beautiful prayer. Hantayam adre abala haridasya varyo yad Rama Krishna charana sparasha pramoda manam tanoti sahago ganayostayoyat paniya suyavasa kandara kanda mulai. So yes, and if you, nowadays people have drones, right? Later on we're going to be watching drone footage of Govardhan Hill. The Govardhan Hill is actually in the shape of a, does anyone know what shape Govardhan is in the shape of?
Peacock.
A peacock, yes. And so the two eyes of the peacock are Radhakund and Shamakund, and there's a beautiful place known as Kusun Sarovar, which is the face of the peacock. Yeah. And the rocks of Govardhan Hill, known as Govardhan Shilas, they are also worshipable. So devotees, they take these rocks from Govardhan Hill and they worship them. No installation is needed, like we said, for certain deities. Usually we install or we invite the Lord to come and reside within that form. But for Govardhan Shilas, there is no need to install a deity because it is already not different from Krishna. Caitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he worshipped a Govardhan Shila, as did Sanatan Goswami and Raghunath Goswami, these great personalities. Now, we're going to tell a little story about how Govardhan appeared. How did Govardhan appear in Vrindavan? Like we said, before the Lord comes, first the Lord's abode or holy dham comes. So how did Govardhan come to be currently residing in Vrindavan? So this is a really nice pastime. So Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, he inquired from his brother, Upananda, how Govardhan appeared in Vrindavan. And this question was also asked by Pandu to Bhishmadev. And they narrated a pastime from the Garga Samhita. So, once upon a time in Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna, so Goloka Vrindavan means the original abode of Krishna. We have what's known as Gokul Vrindavan or Boma Vrindavan on this planet, the earthly manifestation of Vrindavan. But in the eternal spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, one time Krishna, he told Radharani, okay, it's time, we're going to the earth planet, we're going to the material world, like we said, taking the road show on tour. And she said, well, I'll only go to the material world if Govardhan Hill is going and if the river Yamuna is going. She said, otherwise I'm not going. She said, I will be very unhappy if they are not there. And Krishna said, do not worry, they are already there. So now we're going to hear the story of how Govardhan Hill came to the material world. So years before, in Salmali Dweep, the wife of the great mountain, just go with me, yes, even mountains have wives. So one of the greatest mountains known as Dronachal. So you might know this Achal. So when we say chalu, chalu, what does that mean? If you say to someone chalu, chalu, it means like go, come on, go. So the opposite of chalu is achal. That means not moving. So that's the word for mountain. In Sanskrit it means doesn't move. Achal. So Dron Achal, his wife gave birth to Govardhan. And when the wife of Dron Achal gave birth to Govardhan, all the demigods appeared, they showered flowers, and great mountains like Sumeru and the Himalayas, they also appeared and glorified Govardhan as the king of the mountains. And they offered prayers and they described that Govardhan was the crown jewel of Vraj, of Vrindavan. Now, many years later, at the beginning of Satya Yuga, one great sage known as Palasya Muni, he went to visit Salmalidweep. And he saw Govardhana Hill, and he thought he was so beautiful. What a beautiful mountain. And he could understand that this mountain was capable of giving liberation. And he met with Dronachala, and usually in the Vedic tradition, if a great sage comes to visit you, there's certain ways that you can do. You try and serve them, offer them some nice sitting place, some nice words, something to drink, something to eat. And often you would say, how can I serve you? Is there a benediction that I can give you? So then, Palasya Muni, he said, yes, there is something you could do for me. He said, I stay in a place called Benares, also known as Kashi. And it is a beautiful place. The Ganges flows through Kashi. You can also go and visit Benares or Kashi to this day, but it's very flat. It's a flat place. So Palasya Muni, he said, I want a nice hill to sit on top of to perform my meditation and my austerities. And at this point, Dronachala, he started to understand what Palasya Muni was asking of him. He was asking him to donate his son. Is there anything I can do? And in this tradition, if a sage comes to you and asks, and you've said, I will give you whatever you like, then you have to serve them. Can you imagine? Someone came to ask if you were a parent and said, okay, invite a devotee around your house, and they say, okay, can you donate me your son? So I'm just thinking, if the children are being naughty, that might be a blessing. Yeah, please take him. He's too much for me. But Dronachala, he started to become very upset and very sad, thinking about, oh no, how can I lose my wonderful son? But Govardhana himself, he volunteered. He said, yes, I will go with Palasya Muni. You can carry me in the air on your right hand. Palasya Muni, he was a great mystic yogi, so he had all mystic powers. So he was able to carry Govardhana through the air. But Govardhana said to him, but on one condition, wherever you put me down, if you then try and move me again, I will not go. So I will come with you, but if you put me down anywhere other, if you want to take me to Kashi, that's fine, but if you put me down somewhere on the way, I won't move from that place. And Palasya Muni thought, that's fine, no problem. So he was, travelling through the skyways with Govardhana Hill in his hand. And just as they were travelling over Vrindavan, Vrajadan, at that point, Govardhana Hill noticed, this is where I want to be really. I want to be here. I don't want to go to Kashi. I want to go to Vrindavan. So he used his mystic power to make Palasya Muni need to answer a call of nature. And sometimes it happens, You just have to go. Last weekend I ran a marathon in Yorkshire, and I drank a little too much before the start of the marathon. So I got to about 15 miles and I was like, no, I have to stop. So I had to stop I wasn't carrying a mountain though, so it wasn't, although I felt like I was carrying a mountain. Got a bit tough at 15 miles, so I had to stop to answer a call of nature. It's a common thing during a marathon, I wasn't the only one. So Palasya Muni, he said, okay, well, I'm going to have to answer a call of nature. So he put Govardhana Hill down and he answered the call of nature. And then he came back and he tried to pick up Govardhana Hill. But sure enough, Govardhana Hill wouldn't move. So Palasya Muni trying with all his might, but he wouldn't come. He tried again. I'm a great sage, a mystic yogi. I should be able to move this mountain. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move. So then Govardhana Hill said to him, I told you, wherever you put me down, you will not be able to move me from here. So he got really angry. Sometimes the sages, they've conquered all their desires, but they're not so good at conquering anger, like Durvasa Muni. He's known sometimes loses his temper a little bit. It's quite a hard thing to give up, actually, anger. It's quite a hard thing to give up. Anger comes from when your desires are not fulfilled. You have lust, anger and greed. So from lust, if one doesn't fulfill one's lust, and lust can not necessarily mean just in an amorous situation, it means you want something. I want something for me, like that. So if you want something for you and you don't get it, then you become angry. So he became angry. So he cursed Govardhana Hill. And he said, I curse you that you will shrink every day the size of a mustard seed. Now you might think a mustard seed's not very big, right? Mustard seed is tiny. But at the beginning of Satya Yuga, Govardhana Hill was 64 miles long. Govardhana Hill was 40 miles wide and 16 miles high. I don't know if anyone knows how high Mount Everest is, in the Himalayas. Certainly not 16 miles. Anyway, maybe someone can Google that, see how high Mount Everest is. But Govardhana, anyone know? 8 kilometers. Yeah, so in miles, that's not even, well, 10 kilometers is 6 miles. So it's maybe about 5 miles high. I mean, that's high, but Govardhana was 16 miles high at the beginning of Satya Yuga. But because he's been cursed by Palasya Muni, he's shrinking day by day. And it is said after 10,000 years of Kali Yuga, we are now 5,000 years into Kali Yuga, at that point, Govardhana Hill will disappear completely. So then, after narrating this story, Sunanda, Nanda Maharaj's brother, he informed Nanda Maharaj that as long as Govardhana Hill and the river Yamuna are still present on this earth, Kali Yuga, the effects of Kali Yuga, will not take full effect. So that means the age of Kali Yuga means that it is an age of quarrel, an age of hypocrisy. People live short lives. People are not very interested in spiritual life, and people are always disturbed. But still there is some auspiciousness now, but in another 5,000 years, after 10,000 years, it's going to get a lot worse. So therefore we should try and get out of this material world before then. Yeah, and it said that anyone who is fortunate enough to hear this narration of the appearance of Govardhana Hill will become freed from all sin. So there you go, that's all of us. We've become purified just by hearing. Now, we're just going to summarize very briefly, and we're just going to give one more point before we stop. So we've spoken about how Govardhana Hill is the best devotee of Krishna. We've spoken about how Govardhana Hill is non-different from Krishna. And we've spoken about how Govardhana Hill appeared in this material world. But today we're celebrating a very special occasion, which is the worship of Govardhana Hill or Govardhana Puja. So we are going to be having a drama today, which hopefully will explain all of that, if we can remember all our lines. But just in a nutshell, so 5,000 years ago, when Krishna was performing his pastimes in Boma Vrindavan, one day all of the residents of Vrindavan, they were gathering lots of ingredients to worship Indra, who is the chief of all of the demigods, and he is the supplier of rain. So Krishna, as a 5-year-old boy, he was asking, or was he 7? He was 7 at that time, wasn't he? 7-year-old boy. He went to his father and said, "What are you doing, Father?" And he said, "Oh, we're going to be worshipping Indra." And in a nutshell, Krishna said, "There's no need to worship Indra." And his father said, "But we're all agriculturalists, we're farmers, we rely on the rain. Indra, he supplies the rain, so therefore we're dependent upon his mercy." And Krishna said, "No, Govardhana Hill is providing us everything we need, not Indra. I want you to worship Govardhana Hill instead of Indra." Now, to cut a long story short, Indra, he got a bit upset by this. Like we said, it's quite hard to control your anger. And he was very proud because he was the king of heaven. But sure enough, the residents of Vrindavan, their only desire in life was to please Krishna. That's all they wanted to do. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness, is to always remember Krishna and never forget him, and to try to please Krishna in everything we do, everything we think, everything we say, and everything we do. So the residents of Vrindavan, that was what their life was about, just trying to please Krishna. So So they did. They worshipped Govardhana Hill. At this point, Indra became very angry, and he sent not only storms, like, we just had a storm. Was it Storm Amy? A couple of weeks ago, we had a storm here in the UK. They get names, they go through the alphabets. It was Storm Amy. But Indra, he sent Storm Amy multiplied ad infinitum. He sent the most powerful cloud, Samvartika, fierce thunderstorm, lightning, rain, hail. And actually Indra's plan was to kill all of the residents of Vrindavan because they had offended him by stopping his worship. But the residents of Vrindavan, they took complete shelter of Krishna because they were 100% surrendered souls. So there are 6 symptoms of surrender. I'll just explain these very quickly. The first symptom of surrender is that one accepts everything favourable for Krishna consciousness. So if we want to learn how to surrender to Krishna, this is the first thing. Accept everything favourable for Krishna consciousness. 2, we reject everything unfavourable to Krishna consciousness. Number 3, a devotee of Krishna is convinced that only Krishna can protect them. So this is what the residents of Vrindavan were manifesting here. They just took complete shelter of Krishna. When all the rain came, they just went to Krishna. Krishna, please help us. And Krishna, he lifted Govardhana Hill on the little finger of his left hand. He was a 7-year-old boy. And you might say, well, how did he do that? Well, like Prabhupada said, who can stop him? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do anything. One time the devotees, they tried to trick, people tried to trick Prabhupada. There's an old kind of riddle or conundrum. They say, God is all powerful, right? Is God all powerful? And then, they'd say, yes, of course, God is all powerful. So then they say, well, can God create a mountain that he cannot lift? So then you're kind of stuck, because if you say, no, he can't create a mountain that he cannot lift, then you say, but I thought he was all powerful. But if you say, yes, he can create a mountain that he cannot lift, oh, he can create the mountain, but he can't lift it, well, then he's not all powerful, is he? So it's like, got you, So someone asked this to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, yes, he can create the mountain, but then he will lift it. You cannot defeat Krishna with logic. Who can stop him? So the 4th symptom is that one accepts Krishna as one's only maintainer. The 5th one is that one submits oneself completely to Krishna's will. And the 6th one is that one feels oneself meek and humble. So, to cut a long story short, Indra got very angry. Krishna protected them. There's a nice verse in the Shastra. It says, Raki Krishna Marike, Mari Krishna Rakike. That means that if Krishna wants to protect someone, there's nothing anyone can do to harm that person. But if Krishna wants to harm someone, there's nothing anyone can do to protect that person. So let's hope Krishna wants to protect us. In other words, it just means whatever happens in life, it is ultimately Krishna's will. We cannot do anything about it. We just surrender unto him, using these 6 different guidelines of how to surrender to Krishna. But the ultimate conclusion or the goal or the moral of the story is that Krishna is supreme. Indra, he thought he was supreme, but Krishna smashed his pride. Krishna is ultimately supreme. He's the supreme amongst all the demigods. And that ultimately, if we always take shelter of Krishna, we will always be protected. This is the moral of the story. And this is one last thing that I just wanted to finish on, which is very nice. So when this pastime took place, Krishna lifted the hill for 7 days. And for 7 days and for 7 nights, all of the residents of Vrindavan, they all gathered underneath the hill to to be protected from the storms. Now, generally in Vrindavan, it's not that all of the devotees can be with Krishna 24/7. So Krishna's mother sees him in the morning, she gives him his breakfast and, gets him dressed, and then he goes out all day. He's tending the cows. So Mother Yashoda will see him in the morning and see him in the evening. The cowherd boys, they're with Krishna during the day, but they're not with him in the morning and they're not in the evening. And then the gopis, the cowherd maidens, they're not even supposed to be with Krishna. So they have to so in this way, no one in Vrindavan gets to spend all their time with Krishna. But always they're desiring, I want to be with Krishna 24/7. So this pastime fulfilled everyone's desire. Therefore, Govardhana Hill is the hill that fulfills all desires, because throughout these 7 days and 7 nights, all of Krishna's devotees were with him continuously. And they didn't eat anything, they didn't drink anything, they didn't sleep. They were completely satiated just by seeing Krishna, just by being in Krishna's presence. And we will finish this with this now, this last quote. We can also be with Krishna 24/7. We don't have to go and stand underneath the hill like that, or go and stand in a thunderstorm. Well, Krishna has incarnated in this age as his holy name. Kali Kali Nama Rupi Krishna Avatar Nama Haile Haya Sava Jagata Nishta. That in this age, Krishna has incarnated in his holy name. The sound incarnation. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by taking shelter of Krishna in any circumstance, no matter what happens, just like the residents of Vrindavan, whatever happens to us in life, we always learn to take shelter of Krishna, particularly by chanting his holy names. And in this way, we will be protected, we will be safe, and ultimately we will be happy and go back home, back to Godhead. So we will stop there. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Giri Govardhan ki Jai. So we're going to stop there now. No time for questions, I'm afraid. We're going to stop there now. We have a little video to watch of Govardhana Hill while we just go and get ready for the play. We will have about 15 minutes of this. It's kind of like aerial footage of Govardhana Hill. So for those of you who haven't been there, you can take darshan. We'll watch this for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to have the pastime of Krishna lifting Govardhana Hill. Thank you.